We're back. Everything's yep. Here, we'll switch there. There we go. Instagram. Come on. There we go. Everything checks out. Happy Thursday, everyone. It's almost Friday. It's almost the weekend again. I love it. Short week, in and out, bingo, bango, done. Bingo Bango. Wasn't that a club in Mexico? I think I went to a club called Bingo Bango. Just had a flashback to 20 years ago. What's it called? Oh, it's called Coco Bongo. That's what it's called. It is Thursday. It's the 4th of July. A very happy 4th of July to all my friends and family in the United States celebrating Independence Day. Woohoo. I don't know, I need a sound effect for it. Or maybe it's this one. The proper 4th of July. What would be the appropriate other than the Star Spangled Banner? It's an awesome day everywhere because we're here to enjoy it. Trying to be positive wherever you are, whatever you're doing. It's good that you're here, and I'm glad that you're watching. Welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day because I like this kind of stuff. It's my thing. This is my bag, baby. Now, if you're watching, you're probably on one of these platforms because that's where we are. We are where you are. And wherever you are, it's perfect. Now, if you want maybe a better experience, check out our YouTube channel because it's sometimes more stable. Because you've often, if you're watching over there, and I'm looking over here because I'm looking at you, Instagram. It's not always good on Instagram. I don't always see your messages, but I always see the ones on YouTube and TikTok 99% of the time until the scraping software doesn't work, and then I don't see your comments, and things go upside down and backwards. We are on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course X, where we still tweet, and we tweet about all sorts of things. But yeah, you can go to find us at TrafficCop.ca, and you can jump to any one of the platforms that you like. See which one you try them all on for size. See what works best for you. After the show, we download it. I say we all the time, but it's really just me. I'm a one-man show. I download the episode. I then put it back up on the Spotify where you can later download, synchronize, and take it on the go with you. So if you can't hang out for the whole show, but you really want to know what happened and you threw a question into the mix, but you had to take off, well, you can follow up, listen to the hour or so long show afterwards while you're driving without breaking the law or burning your data. Today is a special day. Why? Because we will be joined by Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010 at about 10:35, maybe about 10:30 will be before we're ready to go live on the air. And of course, you can be part of this if you're in the city of Toronto, if you want to call in, or if you just want to make a long-distance call to 416-872-1010. You can join the fun. Jerry takes your calls and texts, and then we talk about them on the show. It's kind of a thing. If you'd like to be part of it, we'd love to have you as part of it. So that's happening 10:35. We'll interrupt our deal of deals, and we'll talk to him and his audience for a bit. In the meantime, let's get into things. Let's see who's here to say hello to. We have Tim Shallow with a good morning. We have Chase P with good morrow. Wow. Okay. Chase is currently 15,000 feet above the ground. YEG bound. Why do I not know what YEG is? What is YEG Airport? Because I don't know. Edmonton International Airport in Alberta, Canada, serves the city of Edmonton and the surrounding region. Offers domestic and international flights. More information than you probably wanted to know. But Chase, glad to hear from you in the air. It is such a weird concept that you can use a device on Wi-Fi or otherwise while flying. I was chatting with a family member who was recently flying, and they were on a flight, and I was shocked, and it's just not something I'm used to. Dad joke flagged for later from Michael H., and I hope to actually remember to check it this time. Last week, or at least last week, I had yesterday off, so it feels like last week, but it was only Tuesday. I forgot to read dad jokes, and I felt terrible. Akela Draconis, good morning. Greetings and salutations to you, too. According to Akela, my mic is a little bit quiet, and I don't know why. I have not changed any settings at all. How quiet is it? Can anybody else weigh into whether or not this is too quiet? Because I can boost it, but I don't want to I don't want to clip. I don't want to go too loud which I'm concerned might be an issue sometimes when I play it back, let me know. Let me know. Or maybe I just need to project more. I could do that. I can be louder because he says Mike is a bit quiet. Michael H. wants to know if the good sergeant is still on vacation, and he is still on vacation until next week, and I am on vacation again next week, so there will be no shows next week. Tomorrow will be the last show for a week. Chen says, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Julie Massey says, good morning, Sean, and everyone out there. Good morning to you, Julie. We got a Killer Draconis dad joke flagged for later. Another one, dad joke flagged for later. A quote flagged for later. Chase with a happy 4th of July to all our American friends. And we got here what do we got here? Old John Crow says, Happy America Day. What do we got here? Chase says that there's a $400 charge for setting off fireworks in the roadway. Is that likely a bylaw, or is there an HGA charge that would apply? Oh, I could think of a lot of different charges. I mean, there could be a mischief under the criminal code. I'm not aware of a HGA fireworks charge, but because you mentioned it and because you like to challenge me to learn new things, you really do. I look up stuff I would have never dreamed of until Chase mentioned it. So I'm in the wrong. I don't want to be in the App Store. I want to be on this one. Here we go. Going to do a little googly goo. And if it's bylaw, I won't have access to see. Let's see here. Fireworks? Would we search fireworks? How about just fire? No. I see a lot things that reference fire, but nothing fire. Hydrant? No, I don't see fireworks. I didn't expect to find fireworks there, but it is an interesting discussion that I'll have to take offline later. Good morning to Zombie. Good morning. I hope all is well. Thanks for saying hey. Brandon says, good morning, all. I'm busy making homemade sausages for a family event. Sean, one day I'll have to bring you a batch. Yes, absolutely. That sounds good. What do we have here? Homemade sausages. Now I have to go home and barbecue tonight. That's just now you've done it. I probably would have barbecued anyway. It does not take much to threaten to threaten or motivate barbecue use. Winter, summer, doesn't matter. I'm in the backyard. Danson says Triple H. I don't remember if I made a reference that makes sense with that. Okay. Another dad joke flagged for. We got lots of dad jokes today. Cowboy says, good morning, Sean. And follows with, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, my friend. Thank you so much for asking. I am having a good morning. I kind of like snoozed a few minutes longer than normal, and somehow that is refreshing. Is it better? See, I actually prefer when I get up before the alarm, but if I manage to snooze one, I feel somehow like I stole 5 minutes. Anyway, My says, it sounds just right to me. The microphone is good. Apparently, it is all in Akela's head. Let's go on. Chase will be back for the Honda Indy, and that is good. Honda Indy runs from the 19th to the 21st of July, and I will be there on the entire event. We'll be in Thunder Alley in the back of in the way back. We'll be next to the OPP, and we'll be hanging out. It'll be a good weekend, a long and generally very warm weekend. I believe that the good sergeant will be joining me for the event, and I hope that you can make it down. On the 19th, it's Fan Fridays. At least historically, it has been, and I believe it still will be, where there's no admittance. There's no charge to get in. They want you to make a donation what was it? It was, I forgot which foundation it is now. It's Children's Wish, maybe, possibly, could be. Yeah. We got another, sounds good to me too. Cool. Okay. Cowboy says, my ball joint on my front passenger side is causing my car to be really loud when driving. Am I still good to drive with it needing to be fixed? So a ball joint. So if it's just noise, if it's not unsafe, the problem is you're responsible to keep your vehicle in good working order. If your vehicle, if the ball joint were to become less jointed and it flew off and I don't know, something happened. I don't know if that's even possible. I'm not a mechanic. If bad things happened, you'd be responsible for that. You know, for not keeping your vehicle in good working order. If someone were to be injured as a result of it, the noise, unlikely that would be an issue. Like unnecessary noise is a thing, but a ball joint making some noise, probably not it. But yeah, I wouldn't. Here's the bigger problem with leaving it for a while is that you tend to create other issues in the meantime. So if that's causing your bearings to go, other things to happen, you might just be increasing your eventual repair bill. That would be my assumption. But you know, if you're talking about a couple of days till you get to the mechanic, you're probably okay, but maybe get an opinion. Call your mechanic before you can get in there. Okay. Oh, this is good. Before I get too deep into the weeds, and which is exactly where I live, I want to mention the Vision Zero enforcement team. They are those magical people who are out on the roads of Toronto trying to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They do a magical job. They are focused on those who choose to drive, well, in the big four. So we're talking about speeders, aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, and of course, impaired drivers. And we know that those particular behaviors lead to serious injury and death, so we want to stop it. It's pretty reasonable, right? Last year, we lost 45 people to traffic collisions. I think 25, 27 of them were pedestrians. I've lost the number. I've said it so many times. It's all turned into jello. But far too many, because one is too many. We should not lose anyone to collisions. We should be behaving in such a way when on the road, whether we're riding, walking, or driving, that we're doing the right thing at all times. And when we do that, we get minor injuries, not major injuries. We get oopsie-doos and not people planning funerals. So we all need to do our part to make the roads safer. It's a big deal. Today, the magical folks at Vision Zero Enforcement Team are spending time in 13 Division and 51 Division. We're talking about Yorkdale, Glen Park, Briar Hill, Wychwood, Oakwood, Vaughan, St. Jamestown, Cabbagetown, Riverdale, the Church Young corridor. We're talking about neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. And it's pretty simple. We just want people to be safe. We want you to be safe. We want your loved ones to be safe. We want everyone to be safe. I could make a song using it. Maybe we should make a song about it later. I just want you to be safe. Yeah, okay, it's not a good song. But the it's all about meaning, and the meaning is good. Let's see here. We have, okay, Carl Johnson. And I need me some water. I saw people carrying a bed mattress on top of the car. Is this legal? How were they affixing said bed mattress to the top of the car? You can transport things, but they have to be securely fastened to the vehicle with approved rated straps. You can't use bungee cords. You can't use the string or twine that you cook your turkey with, or no, it has to be legitimately ratcheted and affixed to the vehicle in a secure fashion that it's not going to become dislodged or become a giant mattress projectile, because that kind of stuff actually happens. I've got pictures of people just holding the mattress to the top of the car, sticking their arms out the window. That is ridiculous. I would charge them again. Unacceptable. And even people with pickup trucks, they put a bunch of junk in the back and they don't tie it down in any way, shape, or form. They go, but it's inside the bed. And bad things happen and things get sent over yonder, and bad thing. Like I remember I was in Georgia on a motorcycle trip and a pickup truck rolled over. And there were people in that pickup truck bed. They were everywhere, and not all of them were still with us, if you catch my drift. And the stuff that was with them was also, became projectiles that hit other things. It was a mess. Anyway, I stopped to help out there because that's what we do. We help people. Okay. I'm a Canadian citizen. Am I able to bring my Florida-plated car home to Ontario for a little bit? Michael, that's a very good question, and the answer is not really. It's funny because you have an American vehicle, plated vehicle, insured for the States, and you might be able to make the argument that you're taking it back and forth, and your Canadian vehicle can go to the States for up to 6 months less a day, and that's legal, because you're a citizen here, you're visiting there. But when you take your American vehicle here, if you're licensed here, it's a bit of a problem. Now, what I can tell you is I know that in Florida, you need to have a Florida driver's license to own a vehicle or to register a vehicle in Florida, because when I lived in Florida, I had an Ontario and a Florida license, but that Florida license was solely for the purpose of purchasing vehicles. It really wasn't a license for the purpose of driving around and operating the vehicle. So it's really muddy because you have a Florida license, you are a resident there, you might be able to do things like that. But the real issue is the RCMP and the fact that they seize vehicles that are taken into the country without paying taxes. And that's really where the issue is that you would be believed to be taking a vehicle into the country and not paying the appropriate import taxes. I think it's very dangerous, very risky. I wouldn't do it. Plus, why would you want to get salt? I mean, you're here for the summer, but I don't know. I would avoid it. I don't have a definitive answer. RCMP would be the appropriate place. You're in a unique situation, being that you're a snowbird. I'm assuming a snowbird going back and forth. I'd leave it there. That's what I would do. Or transfer it and transfer it back. But then you're importing. That's a pain. I wouldn't do it. Interesting. Okay. So Kayla is now making more sense to me. Kayla says, yes, to turn up the volume for the show when you play the recruiting video, it's way too loud. So I can increase the volume. It's currently at 100%. I'm hitting the 75. I'm not peaking out. I could put it up a little bit. And if I did that, is it too loud? Does everyone think it's too loud? I might be the appropriate. That's full blast on the microphone. And I don't want to, but it's not peaking. I'm not even hitting in the red zone. So maybe it's okay. Let me know what you think of this volume. And if it's just way too loud, well, we'll change it. All right. But, I like the interaction. I like hearing the feedback to know exactly what y'all think is appropriate. And I will customize the show to meet the needs of my viewers, my listeners, those people we care about. Can I drive with my dad with no G1? Well, if you're a passenger and he's a licensed driver, you can drive with your dad with no G1. But if you are operating the motor vehicle on the road, you need a G1. You must be 16 years old and have a G1. And if you are going to drive on private property, which oddly enough is the question I was responding to just before we started the live, and I actually created a video response to it because they wanted to know if they could let a G1 driver drive alone on private property. That was the original comment, the answer being technically no license is required on private property. And then they said, could they get a ticket driving on private property? Well, not for no license because that's not required, but you could be charged for stunt or impaired or dangerous because you're still responsible on private property for your actions. A K. Brar wants to know if you can carry a gun in your car. Well, if you're a licensed firearms owner and you have the permit to transport and you're going to and from a gun club, that is a legal one, and you are legally in possession of that firearm, there are conditions for which you must follow in order to transport firearms. You cannot store firearms in your car. But here's the big thing. Where are you? Because this doesn't sound like a Canadian question. If you're in Canada, those who know because they have the license, and those who don't, or they're criminals. Unless, of course, you're one of our friends from down south, and maybe you just have a legit question, and questions differ, or the laws about transporting firearms differ state to state. Whether you're in a constitutional carry state or you're not. If you're in a concealed carry where you need to have a permit, laws are changing all the time. Listen, Florida was not a constitutional carry state. It used to be a concealed weapons permit requiring state before. In fact, it's constitutional carry, but it has to be concealed. Anyway, we can get into firearms stuff, but it's not really the focus of this show or channel at all because we're a traffic show. But if you want to ask me more questions about firearms, you're welcome to go to TrafficCop.ca and submit a question by email because there's a form to do that. Eduardo wants to know if an e-bike has an off-road mode and if an e-bike has an off-road mode and a street legal mode compliant with the rules, if the bike is allowed. And the answer is no. An off-road mode means it's capable of going more than 32 kilometers an hour. Capable being the question. The minute you flip the switch into off-road mode while you're on road, you're breaking the law, and you're capable of breaking the law because your vehicle is not legal for the road. You have a 500-watt maximum motor on a legal e-bike. Well, it's not a 500-watt motor if you're doing 80 kilometers an hour on it, is it? So if a bike is truly compliant, it will not be capable of going more than 32 kilometers an hour, will not have a motor more than 500 watts, will not weigh more than 120 kilos, and will, of course, have a set of full functioning pedals capable of driving the vehicle, moving it. Most vehicles that are off-road mode-ish don't meet all those. So I would caution you and suggest that you don't want to play the game, because more and more people are being charged for unsafe motor vehicle, drive no insurance, drive no license, drive without plates, braking system, like just everything under the sun, because those are not vehicles that should be on the road. The legislation is very specific, and it only applies to the compliant vehicles. Let's see. Oh, Adam, the color teacher, says that happened. We're talking about the ball joints being out of whack. He says when the ball joint finally goes, you can no longer steer the car. That would definitely be a safety issue. Adam, thanks for sharing your experience. Appreciate it. Let's see here. We got good morning from Friendly Farm. Good morning to you. Interesting. I follow up on the gun stuff. He wants to know where he can publicly discharge your firearm at a gun club. That's really, yeah. Sometimes the questions I question the questions. But what's the legal ride height limit in Ontario? So we're talking about lifting or lowering your vehicle. There are maximums and minimums. Usually my understanding is 3-inch max body lift. Lowering is usually 2 inches, but I say usually because there's a maximum and minimum height from midpoint of your headlights to the ground. That's one regulation under the light truck and passenger vehicle inspection guide. It's available online. I think I have a link to it at ASKaTrafficCop.TrafficCop.ca. And the other thing, like when a police officer pulls you over, we're not sitting there with a tape measure usually trying to figure out whether or not the bottom of your vehicle is up from factory or down from factory. We're looking to see if you have body rub between your vehicle frame or body to the tires. If there's contact, if there's any evidence of that, your vehicle is not safe for the road. We're going to pull your plates. John, I don't know what John is talking about, but they claim to be riding down the 401 doing 170 while typing this. So if they're riding, they're on a motorcycle. If they're using a touch capacitive screen, they're not wearing gloves. So we already know this person is not very bright because they're riding a motorcycle without wearing appropriate protection, but they're also making a claim that they're doing something really silly and illegal. 170, I stunt for sure. I might arrest you for dangerous. Combining that with texting and driving, it would be a fun day at the office for me charging you. Of course, the response would be, well, I wouldn't stop for you, because we get high intellect response from squids. Let's see here. TJ says, left lane on the highway is for passing, move over. And for that, I don't disagree. It is the passing lane, at least that's what we call it. All the lanes have the same speed limit. The posted limit is 100 or 110, depending where you are. That's the maximum speed you're allowed to travel in that lane, even when passing. So if the person in front of you is doing the legal limit, shh, they're doing it legally. Why are you inspiring or trying to get them to go faster? If of course they're doing below the limit, then by all means, your uppercase sharing of information is appropriate. Blaine says, is it true that 3 traffic violations make a reckless driving charge? Well, reckless driving is an American terminology. We don't have a charge for reckless driving. We have careless driving, and historically, that's when we have more than one different event taking place, so different offense. So if you're speeding and you're weaving, careless. If you hit somebody and you're following too close, careless. Like multiple things together usually justify careless, but careless could be a single event thing. Now, I personally like to charge the most appropriate thing, and the courts tend to agree with this. If you're following too close and you hit someone, following too close is, I think, more appropriate than careless. But careless was the de facto charge for a very long time. Reckless driving, I think that's going to be the equivalent of reckless, careless, and reckless. But we also have something called criminal dangerous. And criminal dangerous driving could be speeding at an excessive amount of speed. We could arrest you for that. And that's, again, criminal versus Highway Traffic Act. But they're all good charges. Obviously, the more bad you do, the more unsafe things you commit, justifies a higher scale of response in terms of charges being late. What do we got here? Ooh, Zombies Getting Ink. I'll be viewing tomorrow from the tattoo parlor, a 7-hour tattoo. I am a clean slate. I cannot relate. Power to you for hopping in the chair. What are you getting? I'm curious now. Is it the Ask a Traffic Cop logo? No, maybe? No. Unknown user, no name says, good morning, Sean. It's very ominous when there's no name. What do we got here? Ryan Arjun wants to know if there's a fitness requirement for police because a lot of officers appear visibly out of shape. There are requirements annually, or there are requirements for entry, for joining. They're pretty good. They're pretty intense. It was a lot of work to get there. Do a lot of people lose that pristine, if they ever hit pristine shape when they got in? Yeah, age is a thing. We get older. It's harder. We work really long hours. And I mean, we work 11-hour shifts now. That's before we get overtime. Very often we get home just long enough to get to sleep and get a few hours and then come back and do it again. When we're on our off days, we're often working because we have court responsibilities and actually paying the bills, working overtime. We eat crappy food. Not everybody has time or a gourmet chef at home, so we often eat a lot of fast food and takeout, and it takes a toll. So, yeah, we have a lot of people who don't maintain the level of fitness that we'd like to see. Now, we do encourage officers to work towards it. We have gyms in our facilities. We try and get time to go. We have a nutritionist that works for the service that tries to teach us things about being healthier, but it doesn't always work because we're in real life. And then there's stress. And stress also causes an issue. Stress, oddly enough, does not help you maintain good fitness. It's a thing. Stress is dangerous. But we do have a program called the Fitness Pin, and you'll often see officers wearing the Fitness Pin. It's something to aspire to every year, to work on. And many officers do it. So that's the thing. There you go. No offense to anyone who is not perfectly fit. That's a copper. It's just the reality of things, and I think you'll agree. Jeremy says, I was in High Park yesterday and there were some e-scooters on the trail. Is it illegal to drive one on pedestrian paths? So if you were in Toronto, and e-kick scooters are illegal everywhere in the city of Toronto. They're not allowed on roads. They're not allowed on sidewalks. They're not allowed on park paths. They're absolutely illegal. $110 fine for using one. And if they're using them in a dangerous way, there's additional charges. But yeah, not legal anywhere in Toronto. Okay. I just got my G1 and got a temporary license. Am I allowed to drive with that? G1 means you must drive while accompanied by a qualified G-class driver with at least 4 years experience. Their experience counts from when they got their G2 till they hit 4 years. But you cannot drive alone with a G1, and G1 is a learner's permit. So just to be clarifying that, there's some rules, some conditions, 0 blood alcohol content. And I'm just noticing that I haven't heard from the radio show. Just hang on a second. Just going to text message them. Ba-doop. Just checking to see if you got the link. Just got to make sure everybody's all connected, because at 9:35 we do this. We joined Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010. So I'm just throwing that up there. I'll leave it on the screen because that way you can call in if you want to join the show. So again, G1, there's conditions, no alcohol. You got to be supervised by a qualified G-class driver who has less than 0.05 BAC, blood alcohol content. They have to be sober and capable of driving in order to supervise you. Funny how that works, huh? Evandro, who I'm seeing for the second time today. I saw Evandro this morning before the show. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for saying hey. Glad that you're in the show again. We got here. Oh, there's News Talk right there. Good morning to you. I hear you.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent, thanks. We're ready when you are. We'll just leave you. If you want to leave us on mute, we'll just wait till we hear Jerry.
Yes, we'll do. And we'll be up in about 2 minutes here.
2 minutes. We can handle that.
Thank you. Do you need a 30-second warning, or
30 seconds would be great.
is it okay if I buzz in, or do you prefer us to
You
type in
can
on
buzz
the
in.
chat?
You can send me a chat message, whatever works for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we'll just a reminder, 416-872-1010 if you want to call into the show, or text 71010 and get your questions read on the air by Jerry Agar, possibly, maybe, can't guarantee, and then we'll talk about them on the show. And if you call in, obviously, then we're all talking. It's cool. It's fancy. We got a question of, there was a Ford Motor Skills event that happened last year. Will it happen this year as well? I'm so glad you asked, because I've been in discussions with Ford. It's the Ford Driving Skills for Life people as part of the Ford Foundation, or it's funded by the Ford Foundation. And there's talk about bringing it back this year. I don't know. It has yet to be confirmed. But of course, stay tuned, stay involved, follow the channel, let us know, or stay in the know so we can let you know when we know. That's how it works. It's a great program teaching advanced skills to anyone with a G1 or better. Ideally focusing on young drivers, because young drivers are overrepresented on traffic fatalities, unfortunately. If you don't already follow our show, our channel, please do. You can subscribe, you can like us, you can do all that stuff. And we're 30 seconds into jumping on with Jerry Agar. So exciting. Don't wait. Call now, 416-872-1010, 71010 for texts, and also like, follow, and subscribe, and share with your friends. It's important. Just checking my email. It's a weird thing to do, isn't it? But I might have had an email with topics that they want to discuss today. I can only imagine what we talk about. What do you think Jerry Agar wants to talk about today?
This is Jerry Agar.
Every once in a while, we get to dip into the ongoing traffic conversation that takes place on TikTok at Traffic Services with the TikTok Traffic Cop, Sean Shapiro. This would be one of those times. Sean, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to jump right in here so that producer Christina has time to take calls if and when they start coming in. What's your question, Christina?
Hi, Sean.
Hi.
So my question is, I recently got my front car windows, not my windshield, but the windows at the front of my car tinted. And I requested the legal maximum for my tint, but it seems darker than I expected. So I'm worried that it's a little bit too dark for the legal limit, but I have no way of knowing for sure. And I actually reached out to the place that did my tint, and they assured me that it is the legal limit. But my question is, like, what happens if I get pulled over and I'm told that my windows are too dark? If the company was not being truthful and saying that my tint is legal? Is there a way to find out? Is there something that I can do just to make sure that I'm not breaking the law?
I think this sounds like a great social media content post, and you should come by the station. We'll put a tint meter on it just to be sure. But generally speaking, if you ask for the 30% maximum, which is the maximum that you can get your vehicle certified for,
yes.
If you put that limit on top of already factory tinted, you're over. So it depends if they did the math and figured out what you had on there before, or they just slapped on the maximum. That said, if we can't see it, if we can't clearly see the driver, you could be charged for, although not unsafe motor vehicle, we could charge you for obscuring the interior of your motor vehicle with a color or reflective tint. So definitely a concern, and lighter is definitely better rather than going truly to the maximum.
Now, having her get together with you and doing a TikTok video and a video we could run here, I mean, all of that is really interesting, and I would love for Christina to spend her own time doing that to my benefit. But but that said, anybody listening right now who might be a little worried, can you just drive up to a cop station and say, "Could you check this for me?"
Police stations don't generally have the meters. Okay. It's a specific device that we have with our commercial motor vehicle inspectors, because police officers aren't going to use a meter to check it. But what I would suggest is a simple test for anyone listening is, if you took your driver's license and put it behind the window, could you clearly read that driver's license through the glass? If you could, you're probably okay. That's pretty much an easy way to identify.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Here is Marcy. What's your question for Sean?
Oh, hi, Jerry. Good morning, Sean. My question is about the pedestrian walking signals. And it seems like in some intersections, especially in the suburbs where I am, they don't automatically go to the walking man when the light turns green. And so you, as a driver turning right or left, you have these pedestrians standing there doing a little start and stop dance, not knowing whether they should go or not. And sometimes you have to push the button to get the walking man, and sometimes it just comes on automatically.
That's interesting. I've not heard of that happening. What jurisdiction are you in?
I'm in Whitby, but there's intersections where it says, you know, you have to push the button to get the walking man. So the red hand is up, even though your light is green. And technically, I would know that I can probably go, you know, across the road. But I don't know. And so you're turning left, and you've got people kind of stuttering, and they should be able to cross, but
they're not listening to the signal, and if they are required in that jurisdiction to press the button to get the signal, then they need to be doing that. It causes confusion. In the city of Toronto, they've really gone well beyond to the point where we have pedestrian advance signals, where it's a walk signal before it's a green light to give them that advanced opportunity.
Yeah.
So it sounds like something's not being programmed correctly.
Automatically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Marcy. Thanks very much. Yeah, the pedestrians are quite anxious to take advantage of the advance light, but not anxious at all to pay attention to the fact that when the red hand comes up, they're not supposed to enter the intersection.
We can't make everything perfect, Jerry.
Well, you know, you could arrest a couple of them.
Well, you know, certainly there are charges that are eligible for those who are not following the rules and not following the directional signs and signals. It comes down to education, and sadly, a lot of people get educated by way of unfortunate collisions. We want everyone to follow the rules and directions to avoid those collisions that leave people injured and worse.
Here is Barb. What's your question, Barb?
Hi, good morning. Scenario. Okay, I'm pulling out of the shopping center. I have a stoplight. I can either go left or right. I'm going right. I have a red. I'm looking to my right. There are no pedestrians. There's nothing that I can see. So now I'm looking to my left to see whether there's a space that I can turn right into. And there's a stoplight down below. So there's one showing up. I start to see a space coming, and I start letting my foot off the brake. And out of the, thank God I've got good peripheral vision, because out of the corner of my eye, I see a movement, and there is a gal on one of these scooters, and she is flying. And if I had pulled out, she would have hit me. There was no way in God's little green earth that she could have stopped. Or if she had gotten in front of me, I would have hit her. Who is to blame? Now, keep in mind, this is a 6-lane road, like 6 lanes of traffic, and the space that she's coming down in, I think, is almost like a shared way. But then again, technically, if she is supposed to be on the other side of the road, if she is going to be following traffic rules, which
so
of course
this is contraflow. This particular e-bike's going the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, contraflow.
Exactly. So would I have been at fault if she had gotten in front and I had hit her, or what would happen if she had hit me?
First of all, was it in the city of Toronto?
No, it's Mississauga.
Okay, because in Mississauga, those particular vehicles are legal. In the city of Toronto, they're not. So they are legal for use, but they're treated the same as a bicycle would be under the pilot project in the province of Ontario.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So in terms of failing to yield from private drive, you could be charged. But the situation being that they're going the wrong direction suggests that you couldn't have looked in the right direction. Like, you'd be looking in the wrong place while doing the right thing. So I think that they'd be charged as well. Travel wrong direction. If it was a vehicle that didn't qualify under the act, they could be charged for unsafe motor vehicle, drive without insurance. Like, there's a ton of different things. But worst case scenario, if an officer thought that you ought to have seen them and ought to have been responsible, then failed to yield from private drive is the only thing that I could see you being responsible
no matter what you do, you're wrong, right?
Well, what we look at is the specific action that everybody took and hold the individuals responsible for those things.
Thanks, Barb.
I probably wouldn't charge the driver who is looking left for traffic that where it's supposed to be coming from and not where it's not supposed to be coming from.
Okay, but I want you to be really clear about something. Those motorized scooters are not legal in Toronto
At all. It's $110
You would not know
fine.
that to be in traffic in Toronto.
No kidding. Like, everyone's on them because they don't seem to care. Now, the problem is that we have a ton of people using them. They're all violating the rules. And we have to focus our efforts on the stuff that is most serious. We're looking for the speeders, the aggressive drivers. But there are those drivers getting charged as well. And they're also getting involved in fairly serious collisions. So when they're involved in those, they're also getting charged for having the vehicle that they're not supposed to have.
All right. Well, they're everywhere. And you know what I'm seeing more and more is like I have always said regarding bike lanes, Sean, there are places where it works. And right here in front of the radio station, so I encounter it twice every day at least, is on Richmond, because Richmond's very wide and they have a separated lane. But that just doesn't stop the bicycle riders from going the wrong way. It's a one-way bike lane. They go the wrong way. Then they pop up on the sidewalk. And I have actually seen bicycles going the wrong way down Richmond, not even in the bike lane.
Well, they don't have to be in the bike lane, but they have to be in the right direction on the road. There are contraflow bike lanes in the city of Toronto. Richmond's not one of them. So, you know, those riders should be held accountable for what they're doing as well. We just don't have enough police officers to do everything. And that's the
well,
problem.
you need, yeah, I propose arrest a bicycle rider day. Here is Craig. Craig, what's your question?
Hey, morning, Sean.
Morning.
I'm just wondering, there was an article a few months ago about police officers and parking enforcement officers receiving red light tickets, stop sign tickets. Who pays for those? Is it the taxpayers or is it the Toronto Police? Like, what happens to the officer in that sense?
Well, so red light ticket, if they're coming to a stop before going in, they wouldn't get one, so they're violating. I don't know who pays for it, if they're resolved or not. I imagine it would be the service being responsible for it, but I'm speculating. If it's speed related, police officers are exempt from speed laws. So if it's a justified use of the speed, then that ticket would be removed. Parking enforcement wouldn't have that authority. So I imagine it comes out of either the officer's pocket or the fund of the service, but I don't know the answer. I'm speculating.
Okay, thanks for your call. We're out of time here, but exempt from the speed laws, provided there was a reason for that, not just because you wanted to get to Tim's quicker.
Well, truthfully, the law says that we're exempt from it, not exempt on certain times. If you look at fire and ambulance, they have very specific criteria when they can exceed the speed limit. Police can actually do it in the lawful execution of their duties, not going to make a duty.
On duty as well.
Yes, on duty in a police vehicle.
All right. Sean Shapiro, are you continuing on TikTok?
I am for at least 20 or 30 minutes.
All right. At Traffic Services. Thanks very
much. Or you
much.
can go to TrafficCop.ca, get all our socials.
Okay. TrafficCop.ca. Thanks very much.
All the best. Take care.
Okay. A couple of people from the morning show down the hall here at Virgin FM.
Okay. That was that. Christina, we'll get that social media stuff done because now I want to know if your tinted windows are truly lawful or not. Let me turn this back to our regular graphics. Excellent. And we'll get back to the stuff and things we were talking about before we jumped on with Jerry. Okay, I got to scroll down to the last question I flagged. Those are dad jokes. See, I lost my place. We lost the flow. But it's always good to jump on with Jerry. We have a good time doing it. I like it. I like the interesting conversation, when we were talking about the magic of automated enforcement. I don't know the answer to every question. It's scary, but true. And I'm sure that somebody's going, oh, why are they talking about that? But you know what? There's nothing that we're hiding. I'm happy to talk about stuff. People talk about police officers being arrested. Yeah, we arrest the bad ones. The ones who break the law get caught. And we look forward to them getting caught because we don't want them in our ranks. All right. We got, how's my favorite traffic unit? How many traffic units do you know? No, we're doing good. We're doing good. Today's a good day. There's nothing to complain about that I'm aware of. Let's see here. We've got that's Adam giving more information about the joint that causes the car to be understeerable. I don't know how to. Is that a word? Unsteerable. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was me trying to read small text or not. Let's see here. E-bikes, is their law if they hit my vehicle? Why does there seem to be no rules with them? So e-bikes, if they're lawful, if they comply with the Ontario rules under the Highway Traffic Act, they're bicycles. They're bicycles. And bicycles have rules too. Bicycles have to follow the Highway Traffic Act. Although there are some that don't apply, like for instance, speed limits don't apply to bicycles. You have to be in a motor vehicle. However, you're kind of in a motor vehicle, but it doesn't qualify as a motor vehicle if it meets the criteria. The moment it does more than 32 kilometers an hour, if it's capable of going more than 32 kilometers an hour, if it's capable of, if it doesn't have pedals, if it has a bigger motor than 500 watts, it's a motor vehicle. Speed limits apply. So really, everyone should be following the rules. If you're a cyclist capable of doing 60 and a 30, you should get a ticket for doing 30 over. I'm sorry. There should be no exemption for you. What do we got here? Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to you too. White plates. I don't know the context of this statement, but they have a lemon as an icon. Let's see here. What is this? Let's do something about the number of times I've driven on the 401 and never see any sort of enforcement. You guys just hide in the bushes looking busy. First of all, the 401 is the Ontario Provincial Police jurisdiction. If they're hiding to catch speeders, not hiding to look busy. Often police officers are writing reports when they're not on the patrol looking for new violations. But the truth is that they're as understaffed as everybody else. So do they catch everybody who breaks the law? No, they can catch one at a time. And each time they do something, it creates paperwork. Just writing a ticket isn't just writing a ticket. You actually have to enter evidence into the system afterwards. Notes and such. So should there be more? Absolutely. I'd love it when we get together and do all these big events and capture all the speeders and ticket them all. I think it's a good thing. I think we need to do a lot more enforcement. So Jess, I'm with you. In terms of needing more enforcement, I'm not with you when you suggest that they're doing nothing, because I know that we're busy from the time we start till the time we go home. And there's more in the queue waiting after we've left. Let's see here. Is it still mandatory drug test in Saskatchewan at a traffic stop, or was that just for June? First of all, I have no idea, because you're talking about Saskatchewan and not Ontario. Now, the Ontario Provincial Police has put together, and a couple of other services have jumped on the board, where mandatory alcohol screening, which is a Canada-wide, it's part of the criminal code. We have mandatory alcohol screening where we can employ a breath test at every stop, or at any following a random pattern. We can ask anyone without suspicion to provide a breath sample to ensure they have no alcohol in their system. You threw me off with the drugs. There is no mandatory drug recognition. So it's not a drug test, it's an alcohol test. And people argue that alcohol is a drug, so maybe it is a drug test. Anyway, Toronto doesn't do it. We do have and use mandatory alcohol screening, but it's not every single stop. That's an OPP in the GTA doing that, and other services that have also chosen to do it. It'll be interesting. Maybe it becomes a thing because they're having success. They're catching impaired drivers. Who knows? Who knows? All right. I'm not driving while holding a dang mattress. I hope not. TSI says that's the same question again. Okay. Got hit on the 400 by a canoe that flew off the roof. There's a reason that you're responsible to secure your stuff. I hope that, well, I'm sure there was damage, but I hope you're okay and that you weren't injured. If you were injured, that it wasn't too severe. What a poop show that would be. Unless you got to keep the canoe. Even with the, anyway, moving on. What's this? Joe. We got, why are all these Jeeps and pickups allowed extra wide tires on the road? Horrible driving behind them in the rain. They're not allowed. It's one of these things that we don't have a big campaign where we focus on it, but it's not legal. And if we stopped them for one thing, we'd probably charge them for that as well. But we don't generally pull people over unless someone's really paying attention to the fact that you're not allowed to have any tire not covered by fender flare, or mud flap. And that's why, because it's terrible to drive behind them. I've been on the radio with Jerry, and people call in and say, what's going on? We used to enforce this, and we don't anymore. Why is it happening? These people need tickets, and they do. These vehicles should not be certified. They shouldn't be on the road. And it's not safe because of the rooster tail that it's providing. It's also not safe when it comes into contact brushing by a pedestrian. You brush by a pedestrian. Let's say there was a nominal contact, and you're too close to the curb and you touch them. Well, you're now judging the side of your car or your vehicle, but now you've got 3 inches of rubber sticking out that not only touches them, drags them under the tires. Serious. So we should actually focus on it. I certainly would if I was on the road, but it's all about resources. Do we have the resources to do all the things we need to do, despite the fact that they're all important? We have to prioritize. We prioritize the big four: speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Because while those do cause issues, these tire issues, they're not the highest number of issues. I just think that everything needs to be dealt with all at the same time. Jeremy confirms that does sound better. I'm glad. Okay. Kayla says that's better on sound. Good. Cool. Radek says good morning, although it's late because that was a long time ago. And what do we have here? We got. I'm gonna go a little long. I'm gonna go for another a while because I want to try and the Jerry thing. I used to make they were always hard and fast 1 hour episodes, but if I met up with Jerry, I did an extra half an hour because we did half an hour with him. Now we do about 15 minutes with him, and I tend to go an hour and a half all the time. Anyway, moving along. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, we are hiring. I don't know if you knew that. I talk about it all the time, but we are hiring. And if you want more information on how to join the Toronto Police Service, I would suggest you check out www.tps.ca/careers, because when you type that in, the URL goes in, and what pops out is this. You get to see the magical faces of this page. Yeah, where you can get all sorts of great information, and part of that information is details on the jobs that you might want to apply for. And then my favorite button, civilian roles. So first of all, we're always hiring for police constable. We're looking for good men and women, people who want to serve their community, make a difference. It's a great job. It's the most rewarding job you can have because it's more than a job. It's a calling. And for those who think it's just a great way to get paid a decent, secure wage, this isn't the job for you. This takes a toll. It takes up a huge component of your life. It changes you. You do sacrifice. You give up all sorts of good stuff, but you do good stuff, and you help people, and people need help. Special constable is basically how I started. It used to be called court officer, prisoner transportation, but now they also do work in the division. They work as bookers in the divisional units. Parking enforcement officer, great opportunity to get around, help the city keep moving, because that's what they do. They help the city keep moving. Without parking enforcement, it would be an utter mess. I mean, cars just left willy-nilly everywhere. Communications operators are those magical unsung heroes who answer the phone. They answer your call when you're looking for help. And they also have half the team that dispatches to tell police officers where to go. Sounds terrible, sounds rude, but actually it's what keeps us going. Hitting the civilian roles button, we're going to check and see what the posted positions are that are not uniform, because just because you're not wearing a uniform doesn't mean you're not serving. Internal communications coordinator, that's at corporate communications at headquarters. Firearms processing examiner, talent acquisition advisor, payroll coordinator, communications operator, and developer in the digital team. These jobs change constantly. If you're looking at the internal communications coordinator, this one's open until July 17th. After that, it is closed, and the people that have applied for it will be the ones that are being reviewed for the job. Want to be considered? Apply. Know somebody that might be a great fit for one of the positions I just mentioned. Tell them to go look at the website, because you could change their life. You could change our service. You can make everything better for everyone. Isn't it great? I like it. All right, while you're writing that website down so you never forget it, I'm looking for the next comment to respond to. What do we got here? Okay, more from Jeremy. It seems that on the DVP, people sit in the left lane. Can they be charged? And if so, what would the charge be? Can you legally pass in the right lane? I'm glad you brought this up, not because I personally have an issue with people who speed versus people who sit doing the speed limit in the left lane, but because there's so many people who are willing to speed and pass unsafely on the right. I do suggest that people who are doing the speed limit stay to the right. That's my suggestion. Unless, of course, you're passing someone truly going slower than you, and then people move around. You should hang out in the right lane. You should actively pass in the left. However, when you're actively passing, you should not exceed the speed limit at all whatsoever, because that's the law. Now, in terms of can they be charged? Yeah, if someone is going so slow in the left lane that they are impeding traffic, unnecessary slow driving charges apply. Simple as that. You can be charged. Now, can you legally pass in the right lane or on the right? Yes, because the laws about passing on the right were intended for people who are passing, slowing and turning vehicles on two-lane roads or on multi-lane roads, not expressways like what you're dealing with on the multi-lane expressway like the DVP. Is all traffic moving in one direction, and vehicles in any one of the lanes could overtake another vehicle. It's the when you're on a road and you have to go onto the shoulder to pass, that the unsafe or passing on the right law comes into play. When you cannot, for instance, let's say gravel shoulder, you cannot pass on the right on a gravel shoulder. So if you are approaching a vehicle that is slowing with its indicator on, or is stopped with its indicator on to make a left turn, you can pass on the right on a regular road, assuming it has a paved shoulder and it's safe to do so, and it's a reasonable speed differential. Yeah. Is it an offense to block a TTC streetcar track in traffic? Blocking a track versus blocking the road in general? What kind of blocking we're talking about? Blocking the road, you can't block the road at all. So what are we talking about? Are you talking about like during a protest, or during a, just car parking there because they decide they want to block the road? All of those would be offenses. Okay. Or all? It's really just two things. Either. Is it necessary to signal left before turning left at a roundabout? So you're saying you're going to continue, you're entering the roundabout where you don't need to signal, and you're following the roundabout around. You do not signal left when you're in a roundabout. You do, however, signal right when you're planning to exit the roundabout. I guess you would signal left if you were in England in a roundabout, because then you'd be going the other way. Wouldn't you? Still a circle. Anyway, okay, but what is this? Akela, who knows lots of stuff and things about signals, says sometimes pedestrian buttons are activated by buttons. Sometimes they only call the audible crossing signal. Interesting. So, well, back in the day, you're right. It was you didn't activate unless you pressed it, but now it just says to activate the audible signal. Is that in Toronto, or are all of them in Toronto always active? I don't think I've seen an intersection that doesn't have the pedestrian signals automatically activate. It's 11 o'clock. Any questions that come in after 11, we'll consider, but not guarantee that we'll read. Moving along. Let's see here. Oh, I see that TikTok is broken again. Hang on a second. Like, why is it? As I say, no questions will be answered. Then I see that there's no questions because TikTok broke. Let's give it some CPR. Settings, bot, relay mode. Let's see if that worked. Really annoying when it does. That's back. Here we go. Top Chamar wants to know about walking without clothing. Are you allowed to? Well, it's a criminal offense in Canada for public nudity. It needs authorization from the Attorney General to lay the charge. I have to go back and read it. It's been a while since I've looked at it, as it's not something I normally deal with sitting in my office, but it is something there. Let's see here. Why doesn't TPS have a helicopter? We had tested helicopters back in 2000, 2001, 2000. I think we had 3 of them at the time that were a temporary test. However, they didn't fly. There were people complaining about the noise, so they stopped. Now, the Ontario government just subsidized a number of helicopters to be purchased, and I believe they're shared assets amongst police services. I don't know the details, but that's my understanding. Let's see here. Stephen Minardi says, to continue with the offset tires law, I recently found out that a lift kit for a truck/Jeep that is aftermarket and not from the manufacturer is an automatic fail on a safety test. Yes, this is true. My question is, are lift kits technically illegal like offset tires? Well, so the kit itself isn't regulated that I'm aware of. The standards with the, what's it called, for the safety is where that falls in. And if I could articulate as a police officer inspecting that I could say for certain that this is not legal because it doesn't meet the standard, then I had justification to say it's an unsafe vehicle. But we're not mechanics, at least not all of us. There are police officers who are mechanics. Here's the big thing I don't get. Why are people taking the vehicles that companies spent millions of dollars in R&D to work just so, to make it as efficient and perfect as they could, and then chop it up, make it a mess, and have it ride like crap, but look kind of cool? And they do this on the road where people are, trying to get to and from work and play and school safely, making their vehicles less safe. It doesn't matter what they think they're doing. They're doing it to look cool. Unfortunately, the negative impact is that it's less safe. When you're too low, you can hurt pedestrians. When you're too high, you can hurt pedestrians. Things are designed in general to be safer. There's arguments that any truck is going to hurt a pedestrian more than any car. Yeah, that's a separate argument, but we can't do that. What do they call it? Where they stance it, where the rear suspension is lower than the front suspension. Bad things happen, and pedestrians take the brunt of it. So, considering we care about vulnerable road users, and we really do, things that make them less safe are bad. Also, yeah, buy the car that you want. Don't chop up the car to make it less safe. Even though sometimes it looks cool. Okay. What is this? Is there a grace period for the tire size change in regards to the speedometer? No. And I'll tell you why, because the speedometer is not required equipment unless you're driving a school bus. I think it's just, is it a bus or is it just school? I think it's just school bus. In any case, you're responsible for the speed of your vehicle, regardless of what tire size you have on, regardless if your speedometer is accurate or not. People can go to court and say that they believe or that they'd ask for leniency, and that's up to the courts. But are you exempt because you changed your tires and you don't know how fast you're going? No, there's nothing like that. Exclusive SART says, please answer me. I just did, but I don't know what your question is because it's somewhere lost in the mishmash of the last, I don't know. Let me tell you what the outage was. I got comments. Last comment from TikTok came in at like 20 after. So there's like 40 minutes of no TikTok messages actually hitting me, which I apologize for. That's not something that I can control. And I assumed that I was getting everything. We were just on the radio. If you missed it, we were on the air with Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010, taking questions from callers and those texting. Oh, and of course, the producer. So, day one of Stampede from Alberta. Right on. I do want to get a cowboy hat. I've actually wanted to get a cowboy hat for a long time. A properly fitted. I watched one where a Texas sheriff went to an event, got a new cowboy hat. I want to go to Texas. I want a proper hat. Can I go to Alberta and get a proper hat? Does Alberta make cowboy hats as well as Texans do? Okay, these are questions I need the answer to. What's happened? What happens when someone hit my car and that driver don't have an insurance? You have insurance. That's what happens. They have problems and charges, but you have insurance. Your insurance covers you. The subrogation that occurs behind the scenes after the fact, when two insurance companies then fight in the behind the scenes, that happens after. But you get covered by your insurance. The other person gets charged. Michael confirms it's any bus requires a speedometer. Okay, cool. I thought it was school buses only for some reason, but I appreciate you clarifying because Michael is a commercial driver and knows lots of stuff and things, which is probably why we get along so well. Thank you again, Michael. What is this? Ahmed wants to know, and if they can they live in Ontario, but they want to go to Montreal to buy a car. Can you bring it back to Ontario? How does it work? So if you were to, I'll tell you the opposite direction. You want to buy a car that is from there. You can do that. What you do is you go to their ministry and you get a temporary permit because you can't drive with the previous owner's plates. Also, you need to have insurance. You either need your own plates or you need to get a temporary permit and put it in your window. That's how it works. Now, because if you go to Ontario Ministry and say, I'm buying this car, but I'm taking it out of province, they give you a piece of paper, you stick it to the window, and then you get pulled over every 6 blocks because we don't see a plate and it looks really strange, but you have the legal paperwork to support it. I'm assuming it's exactly the same on the way from Montreal here. David says, it's David 123429, censorship ? I'm obviously assuming that you didn't get responded to and you think I was ignoring you intentionally. I was not. I did not know you existed until now. Okay. What can I do about my dad speeding? Friendly Farm wants to know. And it's a really good question. You as a passenger obviously need to advocate for yourself. You need to tell them. You need to tell them to come watch my show. You need to tell them to email me. Or maybe we make a specific message. You know what? Friendly Farm, do me a favor. Go to TrafficCop.ca, send me an email. Let's talk about this online. I want to make a video for your dad. And I can highlight some of the best reasons why he should not speed. If it works for you, it works for me. Happy to do that. But speeding is really not a good thing. But if you're in the vehicle, tell them how you feel. Voice up. And it's not a comfortable conversation, but it's a conversation you definitely need to have. And if you'd have a problem having it, I'm happy to have it for you. Let's see here. So if my truck came from manufacturer with custom exhaust and it's not real loud, is it legal? If it came from the manufacturer, not the dealer, but the manufacturer, and it passed all the requirements to be on the road, then it's legal. If you hit the gas and rev it up and make it obnoxious by way of how you drive it, then unnecessary noise would be applicable, and you can get a charge for that. If it's something the dealership modified after the manufacturer shipped it, that's different. That may not be legal. You look at Harleys, people say, Harleys are so loud. No, Harleys are not loud at all. Harleys come from the factory, quiet as can be. You may not even realize it's not a Honda, other than the fact that everyone just choked on everything they were eating, drinking, or otherwise, because I said a Honda and a Harley could sound similar. It's only when you put the baffle-free straight pipes on that it sounds like a Harley, at least a Harley that you're used to hearing. I can't stand to ride behind Harleys. Any Harley that would ride with me had to be at the back of the pack, other than when I was on a police bike and I was on a factory exhaust equipped Harley, because then they're nice and quiet. Yeah, it's obnoxious to be next to a Harley. Can't do it. I love Harleys. Don't want anything to do with being the hearing damage that comes from hearing them, and they're all illegal. And just a little additional on that. Last year, or the year before, City of Toronto added a bylaw to the noise. Well, the bylaws regarding noise from vehicles. So aside from the Highway Traffic Act offense for creating unnecessary noise, there is also a Toronto bylaw, it comes with a $500 ticket, for idling at 92, or is it at or above 92 decibels, I believe. And they've changed it now. Now it's any motor vehicle, not just motorcycles, but any motor vehicle idling at 92 or above, and anything other than idle, 96 decibels. And there are devices available for the folks at bylaw to measure the output, and if it's $500, yeah, obnoxious noise. Does not. People say loud pipes save lives. I know you're not talking about motorcycle. I am. You were talking about trucks, but motorcycle people always say loud pipes save lives. No, they don't. They're just obnoxious and they annoy people. Is careless driving a life-changing ticket? Depends on how much you can afford for insurance. It's 6 demerit points. It's $500. It's not cheap. Is that the worst thing that can happen? No, it happens. It's a fairly common charge. It doesn't mean that it's fun. It's just that it happens. If you got stunt driving, that's bad. Careless, even cell phone driving, I think now is worse than careless, because careless, you're going to go to court. They're probably going to allow you to plead guilty to a lesser offense, and you're probably not going to actually get a conviction for careless. So cell phone, there's not a lot of wiggle room on that. Stunt driving, not good. Okay. Interesting. This user, I can't read that, says, last time I got pulled over, cop said he'll let me go if I let him search my car, and they lied. Yeah, that's something funky. I've never heard of anyone doing that. It's gross. You can either authorize a search or not authorize a search. What did they pull you over for? Were you breaking the law? Take your ticket and move on. Don't negotiate. You're guilty or you're not guilty. That's it. What do they find when they search the car? That's another question. Okay. Why do some drivers stop at lights several car lengths back from the car in front of them? Why do car drivers stop at lights? Oh, so when you're coming to a stoplight, the vehicle in front is stopped, and they're several car lengths back. Several suggests a lot. That's weird. 1, 2, 3 car lengths? Normal. You shouldn't be stopping on the bumper in the car in front of you. You have no escape path in the event that someone's speeding, out of control as they approach the intersection. They fail to stop. You have nowhere to go but to be the shock absorber to take the impact of their car, at whatever speed. And a friend of mine did that. a friend of mine was stopped at a stop sign, was rear-ended by an F-150 doing full speed, who just was probably on their phone, and their life was forever changed. Their life and the life of their child, who's was severely injured. So I guess the person that's a few car lengths behind is maintaining exactly what they were told by young drivers, which is to make sure they have an escape path. Okay. Snacks says, all cops lie. Cops are not paid to be your friend. They collect information. Never talk to the cops. Snacks, I hate to say this. How do I say this in the nicest way? I can't say it nice, so I'm not going to say it at all. Cops are your friends. When they are giving you a ticket, they're possibly being the friendliest they can be, which is trying to save your life by changing your driver behavior so you don't kill yourself or someone else, so you don't spend the rest of your life paying off the debt of having hurt someone. I think that's the friendliest thing we can do. We're trying to save your life. It's pretty friendly. We're also the people who run towards the sound of gunfire. We're the people who, when someone's in need, we go. Whether we take them to get them help by a third party, or we're doing CPR until paramedics come. We're being pretty friendly. I think what you're saying is pretty gross. I think you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, maybe you've had a bad experience. I don't know. Because you know what else cops are? Are human. Sometimes we're even rude. Sometimes, instead of self-regulating and not calling you what I wanted to call you when I first read that, sometimes it doesn't work because we've seen a lot of stuff. And sometimes the truth just comes out, telling you exactly how we feel in that moment. And I'm glad I didn't do that, because maybe you don't deserve that. But we're definitely friends. Unless you're a criminal, and then you're a criminal. And then you should be arrested and held accountable for doing whatever criminal thing you're doing. So, yeah. Think about it. Think about it next time you need help. Are the cops your friends? You're needing help. Who are you calling? You're not calling a bandit. You're calling the police. Have a good day. Okay. Leah Page Brown says, I'm visiting Saskatchewan in a few months. Will I be okay to drive with my Ontario license? If you have a G2 or a G or M or M2, yes, you would be. You're eligible while visiting to use your driver's license, because that's what it's for. Whether you're driving or renting a car, you're absolutely covered that way. But you can't be a learner. That's the thing. Okay. Is riding an ATV or UTV or snowmobile on private property and not on our regulated trails, is the operator still on the Highway Traffic Act laws for private property and exemption for such laws, for example, if you have a suspended license? Oh. So ATVs on private property, you don't need a license. Oh, I got to scroll back. UTVs, snowmobiles, you don't need a license on private property. So you're okay. Now, if you were criminally convicted for impaired operation and you have a motor vehicle disqualification, that's different. That's not a suspended license. That's a disqualified license, and that might get you arrested. Yeah. Now, obviously, you're still eligible for charges under the Criminal Code of Canada for anything you're doing on private property on a vehicle, regardless of license status. So, there you go. Hope that helps, or not. Let's see here. Snacks wants to know, what is this? Snacks, who hates police, says, cops can use deadly force, but they want you to run away and not protect yourself. Yeah, I don't know where you're going with this. Police can use necessary force. They're criminally responsible for unnecessary force. You can look at that when you look at police officers who are being charged and convicted. When they do the wrong thing, they're responsible criminally, just as you are. You're responsible for criminal use of force as well. But you're allowed to, under the Canadian Criminal Code, defend yourself. And you are allowed to use reasonable force to do that. But you're responsible when you don't use reasonable force. Now, when a police officer gives you direction, you follow the direction. There shouldn't be any fighting going on. If you're fighting with the police, that's when they're using force, and you're creating the scenario where it's really silly what you're saying. Okay. Can you become a police officer with a full pardon? Yes, you can actually apply for the police as long as you are not, if you don't have a record, you have a full pardon. Now, everything's situational, so it's possible that your situation may prevent you from being a police officer. I'm not a recruiter. I don't know. I don't want to give you false hope, but my understanding is with a pardon, you would be okay. Talk to a recruiter for sure. Okay. Scrolling. Jimsky's really asking the same thing a lot, but I already answered it. Okay. Gup99 wants to know, can I borrow someone's car if I'm not named on the insurance, but the car is insured? If you are a licensed driver appropriate for the vehicle you are borrowing, then yes, technically you can borrow an insured vehicle as long as you have permission from the registered owner. Now, if you live with that person, the insurance company wants you to have that person named on the policy. But is it legally required? Would I give you a ticket for it? No. As long as the vehicle is insured, you have proof of insurance, you're a licensed driver, you have proof of your license with you, there should be no issue. Now, if the vehicle is unsafe, if the vehicle is not insured, these are different questions. But that's not what you asked. Okay. What do we got here? Andres says, hi, if I'm going to Montreal, from Montreal to Ontario, can I be pulled over for not having front, I'm assuming from plate, you mean front plate? No, if you're visiting Ontario and Montreal doesn't require a front plate or Quebec doesn't require a front plate, you're not required to manufacture a front plate. You're only required to display what you've been issued. So there's an exemption under the Ontario law. You would not be in a situation running your rear plate only because that's what you got. Okay. What do you got here? How long do points stay on your driving record? Points stay on from 2 years from the date of the offense. So if you took 2 years until you were convicted because you went to court and you pled guilty in court, and by the time you went through court, that's when it's 2 years, you'd never see points because they're only put on from the date of the, they're only registered at the time of the conviction, but they only stay on until 2 years has passed. Your record, however, would reflect the conviction for 3 years from the date of the conviction. There you go. Let's see here. I need to look here because I'm annoyed. Stand by. What is Casey doing? We gotta mute you, Casey. You're taking up. Boy, a lot of yapping here. Gonna mute that person. So much muting. I don't usually have to mute anybody. What's going on? What did you guys do last night that caused you to be so disruptive? I don't really care. Okay, let's see here. Another mute. See, I don't look over here. I don't have a moderator today. I think I have a moderator tomorrow. Okay. Just because I noticed it. Can I wear sandals while I'm driving? Legally, yeah. Legally, you can. It's not against the law. It might be against the law elsewhere, but it's not against the law here. Boom. Okay. What is the SIU? That's an independent agency now I think it's still around. SIU is an independent agency that investigates police for events. So if someone's seriously hurt in relation to a police stuff, they will actually investigate that and determine whether or not, or suggest whether or not officers require charges. Actually, we can actually go here. SIU. Special Investigations Unit. I want to read what they say they are. What do we investigate? The unit. Do we say here? So the SIU is a civilian law enforcement agency in Ontario that has the jurisdiction over municipal, regional, and provincial police officers, as well as special constables employed. And it goes on and on and on. They investigate the death of a person, serious injury of a person, the discharge of a firearm at a person, the sexual assault of a person as reported by the person. So there you go. There's your answer. Who has the right of way when merging onto a highway? Well, the people who have the lane, when you're in a lane, you own that lane. Do you have to let someone in? No, but you can't actively prevent them from changing lanes. So who has the right of way? The traffic on the highway does. You're merging into the traffic. Those merging don't have the right of way. But you know what? We could all be courteous to one another. It would be so nice. Let's see here. Boy, Casey, I should have banned Casey instead of that. Do you have to renew your sticker or just renew your plates? Jacqueline wants to know. The answer is you don't have to. It automatically renews as of July 1st. But go in and make sure you go to TrafficCop.ca and go to the link at TrafficCop.ca for the ministry or the Service Ontario or renewing your plates. It's one of them. It's down at the bottom, useful links. And go check it out. You can actually do it online for free. Just do it. Do it. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I actually had to create a video about it. There's some new things, and there are going to be notices for people who don't qualify for automatic renewal, but you can just go ahead and renew it online now. Okay. Boop-a-doo. Hang on. What happens if you pull over a security officer, but he was violating a crime? It's the same as anybody else. If a security officer breaks the law, you arrest them. If the security officer is speeding, you charge them for speeding. There's no benefit to being a security officer. They have certain, they have to be registered. They're regulated, but they don't get special privileges. Nobody does. Police officer breaking the law can be ticketed and arrested too, because that's what's supposed to happen. No one's supposed to break the law. What is this? Littering my chat. What is this? Would you have to inform someone of their rights and caution to question them roadside about an HTA offense? No, you're obligated to, like for instance, surrender your license, ownership, and insurance. No, that's I don't have to give you your rights for that. If I'm investigating you for something else outside of that, I'm detaining you beyond that of the standards of a traffic offense. Well, yeah, I'm gonna caution you. If I'm looking at you at criminal offenses, yeah, but you got to give me more. Like just HTA, you speeding, there's no caution. Oh, interesting. So this driver, Kath Hodge, says, I'll stop further back in a left lane to trigger an advanced green. Interesting. I guess that allows suggests more traffic to prior traffic. Interesting. I wonder if that works or if it's just something someone mentioned and maybe doing nothing for nobody. Okay. It's 11:25. I think it's time. Let's see here. Ahmed says cops are the best. I'm glad you think so. Okay. I'm scrolling looking for more stuff, but I think it was just a bunch of spam. And as you may already know, spam is only for what's in this can. And I don't even know if it's for anything else. Like, Akela gave that to me and at Honda Indy. But apparently people eat spam. Do you eat spam? Okay. Stone wants to know about decrease in crime with a gun ban. No. I don't think that's related to anything. In fact, I think I know that chiefs of police across Canada have said that it won't affect because criminals use guns. Criminals don't follow laws. So imposing laws that affect law-abiding citizens does not affect what criminals do. Funny how that works, huh? Daniel says, I personally enjoy cars. I love hearing the sound of a V8. Is an aftermarket muffler legal? Depends. I love the sound of a V8. I love the sound of a muscle car. Absolutely. That there are legal aftermarket and there are illegal aftermarket. There's things you can and cannot do, and there is the answer. But I feel you. I totally get it. Are most cops racist? No. Why would you say that? Why would you ask that? We're just people. I don't think there's a racism problem at all. But we also have a tremendous amount of training. We're also a tremendously diverse group of people. So, yeah. Apparently I'm a great guy now. Before I'm not so much, but now I'm a great guy. Let's see here. And we talked about the sandals. What if we drive a car with paused insurance? That's called no insurance, my friend. I have charged people who have been driving with their winter storage insurance. It's not road insurance. You get charged for driving without insurance. Does the HTA cover all roads, highway, and city? Yes, Highway Traffic Act covers all roads in the province of Ontario, other than private roads, which do not comply, which are not city roads. They're not owned by the government. They're like private road. If you have a private road in your cottage, once you've left the city road or the municipal road, you're on your own private property. It's no longer HTA-able. What's your take on motorcycle overspeeding at nighttime? No cop is there to stop them. I think we need to have like drones or something that just pick the whole bike. I don't know what to tell you. I'd love to see automated enforcement, but the truth is I know that they're flipping their plates and they're hiding and doing dumb stuff. And ultimately they need to be stopped. So I don't know if we need to have helicopters follow them until they run out of gas or meet them at home and arrest them, but something needs to be done because they're absolutely insane. I don't know what this is. Oh. How is it that cops without an automotive 310, so they're saying not a mechanic, able to pull plates due to say for gross defect, for obvious things, for things that we can articulate without requiring to be a mechanic? We're covered under the act as to be able to do basic inspections. Yeah, that's how we can do it. Like if I see tire rub against the body, I can identify that this means that the vehicle is not safe. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that your plates go, and then you can take it to a mechanic and apply for a safety. Problem is, there's a bunch of mechanics who will safety it even though it's not safe. It's a problem. Then we have to go back and follow up and make sure that we take the license away from the mechanic. Okay. Mike the Bean. What is this? Can I pull into the oncoming lane when nobody's coming to allow drivers to pass when turning? Is this specifically against the law? No. But would you be eligible for the head-on collision you cause? Yeah. There's no charge to lay for going left of center for that purpose. People do it all the time. I don't get it. I don't know why it's done. I mean, I do understand why it's done. I don't think it's a good practice to do it. It throws people off, especially when they have no idea what you're doing. Got a ticket blocking intersection during rush hour, but there's 8-car blocking intersection. So you were the 9th car? Why were you at the intersection? The truth is you should not be entering the intersection unless you have a place to go, a way of exiting the intersection. How do you know if you have points in your license? Go to the ministry and check it out. You could also, you might be able to go to a police station. They can run it for you, but they have to be able to verify it's you. Go to the ministry. They should be able to look it up for you. Actually, you know what? Go to the ministry and order an abstract. That's what you do. You pay for an abstract to get it done. That's the appropriate answer. Is it legit to have a vanity plate hanging below my actual plate so both are visible while driving? A vanity plate's a legal plate. Are you talking about a plasticky toy plate? Like, because if it's something that potentially could confuse the identity of the vehicle, it would not be legal. If you're talking about simply having, I don't know, the Canadian flag that's in the shape of a license plate hanging below your license plate, I don't think that's an issue. But if you're having a plate that looks like another plate, that's a problem. The Grinch says, good morning. Good morning to you. Okay. What are the restrictions for a G2 driver? G2 driver has 0 blood alcohol content, no drugs, of course. And other than that, they're not allowed to have, in the first year, a certain number of passengers or restrictions between, let me rephrase, between midnight and 5 a.m., they can only have one person in the first 6 months under the age of 20 that isn't their immediate family. And in the second 6 months of their license as a G2, they're restricted to 3 people under the age of 20 between midnight and 5 a.m. But there's an exemption. If you're immediate family, you can have as many people as you have seat belts and seats. Why can't I drive without a shirt on? Why can't you drive without a shirt on? Is that a personal thing? No, there's no law saying you have to wear a shirt. A whole bunch of stuff just came in. Well, I was going to go offline now, but now there's a whole bunch of, let's see if there's more questions. Christian Jones. We talked about that already. A lot of duplication. So I mentioned this earlier when Jacqueline originally asked it. There are no stickers anymore. Well, that's not true. There are stickers for snowmobiles, to the chagrin of the good sergeant, and for commercial motor vehicles, but that's it. Joseph wants to know about eating or drinking while driving, for example, protein bar or even ice cream. It's not illegal unless that protein bar made you lose control of the vehicle because it was just so difficult to chew because some of them taste like sand. No, it's not against the law. But if it did cause you to weave, it would be careless driving because you're not driving properly. It would be your driving behavior that was ultimately caused by that. You know, if you spilled hot coffee because you didn't screw down the lid of your Contigo. By the way, my old Contigo, I spilled coffee all over myself because the seal died. I don't know how it happened, but I was actually parked at a Costco, and I raised it to my mouth to drink, and they poured over my white shirt. So I went shopping with just an absolutely disgusting shirt, but I was already always far from home. And, yeah. Thanks for bringing back the memory. Ice cream, by the way, if it's a cone, I have no problem with it. If you were eating with a spoon, that's careless driving. No hands on the wheel, careless. Does HDA cover Highway City? We covered that, I think, Peter. Actually, it was you who asked. So yes, it covers all roads and highways. What do we got here? Lots of duplication, more duplication. If a sign is blocked by a tree for no stopping sign, is it my fault for not seeing it? You go back, take some pictures, because that might be evidence in court to defend you. Police officers should be looking before writing tickets to enforce a stop sign to see if that was truly obscured. So based on the fact that as a police officer, I'm going to set up, I'm going to go survey the area, look to make sure that it's an unobstructed view of the stop sign. If my evidence is that it's unobstructed and you think that it's obstructed, it's probably not obstructed. But you may or may not take pictures. You got evidence. The evidence is king. Let's see here. Does a bike lane need an age? No, sidewalks need an age. In the city of Toronto, bylaw says you can't be on the sidewalk unless you're under the age of 14. You have to be 13 or younger. So that's the thing. Is it legal to drive without footwear? Yes, it is legal in the province of Ontario to drive barefoot. Although I wouldn't suggest it. You'd hurt your toesies when you smash that brake pedal in an emergency. Okay. Moving on. Why are people allowed bike racks that cover license plate but not a clear protective cover? Well, they're not allowed bike racks. It's against law. They're obscuring or obstructing the plate. Absolutely not legal. Jacqueline says, thank you. You are the best. I try. Thank you very much. Let's see here. We talked about that. Daniel says, Sean, I'm just here to say hi. Hope you had a great Canada Day weekend. I did, Daniel. Thanks so much for saying hi. Yeah, I had a good time. Any time with family to me is a good time. Even the family I don't like is still pretty good. Let's see here. Is it legal to have the trunk of your car strapped down if the latch is damaged or defective? Sure. Securing it makes sense. I've seen lots of interesting ways people close their vehicles up. What is that? The JB Weld. Seen all sorts of stuff. Okay. John what is it? Klippenstein is complaining that they love seeing tax dollars paying for a guy to live stream. Well, thank you very much, John. I appreciate your support of this live stream. Tax dollars and all. So here's the deal. It used to be that police officers would go to barbecues, community events. Kids would sit on the motorcycle, climb around the car, and we still do that on occasion. But that's not a purely educational opportunity. That's where one person comes up to me and says, I love the motorcycle. I've always wanted to be a cop. Oh, by the way, when I do this, that, or the other, can I get a ticket for that? So we have many conversations, and we get some education out there, and it's not really effective. It's not effective the way this is effective. Because right now, 122 people watching between multiple X-platform accounts, because I've got the voiceover cop and the traffic services. We've got people on Facebook. We've got people on YouTube. We've got people on Twitch. If I look over here, we've got, I don't know how many are actually watching live right now, but 2,755 people have come into the TikTok. Oh, maybe I can go to live info here. Does it say? No. Analytics doesn't show. And then I've got people who are also watching on Instagram. And then we have people who listen on the podcast afterwards. The archive, the fact that this episode will live on forever. Yeah, we're talking to thousands of people. We're answering and helping thousands of people every day with 668,000 plus people on TikTok watching our short form content. This is the best way to communicate with people. This is the modern age of policing, where we actually communicate to people, with people. We converse where they are. Makes a lot of sense. If you don't think so, you're just wrong. It's sorry to tell you. But I appreciate your complaints. It allows me to talk about stuff like this, and it's important to me. Let's see. Batman says, Sean, just wanted to say that I've been following you on here for a long time, and really and it got cut off. I'm assuming that was positive, so I'll say thank you. Could have taken a turn. I don't know. But I'm always happy to hear it. You know, getting testimonials, getting people who write in to say that they've enjoyed it. Like, I met up with Evandro today. Evandro is an auxiliary police officer now because he was inspired by watching the show. He wants to become a police officer. He wants to work at traffic services because of his involvement and exposure to me talking about traffic safety and stuff. That to me is incredibly rewarding. Yeah. Is no driving without G licensed driver on G2 automatically come in after 12 months? No driving between midnight and 5 a.m. is for a G1. There's no nighttime driving restriction for a G2. You can drive anytime. It's how many people can be in your vehicle with you that are under the age of 20 other than immediate family. Okay. Is that legal or illegal, officer? Ali wants to know, and I wish I could tell you, but I have no idea what you're asking, because that question was asked at 11:26. It's now 11:39. So the context for which you were asking I don't know. Daniel says, I might have one question. What is the minimum threshold for speed camera enforcement 10 kilometers over? Question mark. So you want to know when you're going to get a ticket versus when you're not going to get it. When are you going to trigger the camera? And the truth is, I don't know. I'm assuming it's about a 10% threshold, but it's an assumption. Why? Because they don't tell us. It's plausible deniability. I don't know the answer to the question. It's not run by the police. It's run by the city of Toronto. I've heard people getting tickets for 8 over. I've heard people getting tickets for 10 over, 12 over. I don't actually know. Now, if you want to actually hear a cool episode, it's a couple years old now, but it's really it's one of the best episodes we ever did on TPS Traffic Jam. Why? Because I think it is, not because it actually is. It is an episode, and it's with the folks who manage the program. It is the automated enforcement team with the city of Toronto. It's available at TPS Traffic Jam on YouTube, or on our playlist for TPS Traffic Jam, or by going to the podcast through TrafficCop.ca. Yeah. Do I care about dark tint? I do. It's illegal, and I would charge people for dark tint, and I have, and I would do it again. Dark tint is not safe. At what speed do you usually take someone's car or motorcycle? Well, we would take it at stunt driving speeds. So the seizure takes place at as soon as the charge of stunt driving is laid. It's for 40 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit if the posted speed limit is under 80, and it's 50 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit if it's 80 and above. It's 150 anywhere, and there's other, not just speed-related things, there's other triggers that can cause stunt driving charges, and that's when we take your vehicle for 14 days and put it to impound, where you're responsible for towing and impound fees, and you lose your license for 30 days. And that's before you're even convicted. Once you're convicted, you're going to lose your license for another 1 to 3 years, have a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, and up to 6 months in jail. All right. What is this? Oh, Lindsay says that it's good, that Spam is good fried, making great picnic sandwiches. I no reference, no idea at all. That's interesting. Nicholas doesn't like police. Okay. Oh. Is TPS sending me to TwitchCon in San Diego? I think you'd have some fun meeting other content creators. I can't see that we're big enough on Twitch to justify that. So we're on Twitch, but you might be the only person who watches us on Twitch. That's not true, because I saw here that we had 3 people on Twitch. We're not big on Twitch. We're there because you're there. And if I'm talking to one person and helping them, it's worth being there. It doesn't cost us any more money to transmit our signal there. It's an RTMP feed that goes to all the places. But I'd love to go to some content creator stuff. Kind of offended that TikTok has never invited me to anything, ever. It's because I'm government. I'm not small business. I get it. But it would be nice to to come by. Well, actually, I do go and see TikTok people because their office is down the block and I meet them for coffee, but I don't actually go to their parties. Never been invited to their party. Feel left out. Let's see here. Oh, so many people who are unhappy. And so many people who are not paying attention to the fact that I answered their question. Okay. We got more here. Okay. Daniel says, Daniel, thank you for that. I saw your message. Have sovereign citizens made it to Canada yet? Oh, yeah. They've been here for years. I mean, we were dealing with sovereign citizens when I was still in courts prior to becoming a police officer. So, yeah, that's a long time ago. And they're still getting arrested all the time because they're playing from a playbook that is Fantasyland. How much of the now Imran has a question that's different. So they were asking about paused insurance. The ticket for no insurance is $5 to $25. Well, it's not a ticket; it's a charge. It's a 104. It's a Part 3. You go to court. There's no option to pay. You're looking at a fine of $5,000 to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail for driving with paused insurance. Is a nice way of saying driving with no insurance. Yeah. Hi, big fan over here, waving. And your username is one that I cannot make out. Is that 911 in an interesting font? Maybe, possibly. Linda, good morning to you. She says, hi, hero. We love you all. Have a great day. You're the great guy. Have a wonderful day. You work very hard to help all of us. God bless you. Thank you, Linda. Linda's always positive when she says hello. She's a big supporter of law enforcement and emergency services. Speed camera tickets are essentially a fine, right? Yes, there's no consequence to your license. Unfortunately, I think it should be. Other parts of the world it is, but not here. Yeah. But now it's just a financial thing. It's that slap on the wrist to say, do better. I think they should be on every road, at every intersection, at just everywhere. There should be no reason to exceed the speed limit or break the law. Stephen Minardi says, so we all know you guys don't have quotas. Every workplace has productivity standards or everyone would do nothing all day at work. My question is, if you have no quotas, how are your productivity standards measured? How much downtime do I have? Now, there's no downtime in Toronto. We're barely enough time to get a lunch, which is often canceled, and meaning we don't actually get to have a lunch, which means we put an hour in the book, and some other day by the time we retire, we're owed that hour. But we're run ragged, right? There's no downtime. So that's another reason why there's no proactive traffic stop, and that's why Vision Zero enforcement team is so important, because they are doing nothing but traffic stops. So you got to be busy. You got to be showing that you're doing something. But in terms of measuring our performance, are you working? Were you talking to somebody? We document everything, right? We're mark me at a call, mark me at a fair, mark me at a traffic stop, mark me at a follow up for an investigation, mark me at an arrest, like one in custody. Like, everything's going over the air, everything's being documented. If we have nothing, if I go out on the street and come back 8 to 10 hours later and I've attended nothing and I've written nothing, then I've done nothing. And that's a problem. But that's not happening. It's not possible to hide, because if we don't show up on the air, if we're not, like, we're all tracked by GPS, the dispatcher's gonna be like, hey, are you alive? Are you okay? The sergeant's gonna be looking for you going, what are you doing? We're not required to do a certain number of tickets, but we're supposed to work, right? So if I pull you over and that stop goes from speeding into no insurance into child safety seat inspection, and I've got a handful of tickets, or I've got one ticket, or I get a gun, or I got an arrest, that could take my entire shift. It's one thing. There's no rush to get 50 things. It's quality over quantity. Let's see here. How are you doing? I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Let's see here. I could see drones for law enforcement down the road. Sounds like a Demolition Man. Be well. I love Demolition Man. But look at the what they're using drones for in Russia. I think they use them for traffic enforcement. They can see cars coming down the road for aggressive driving. Then an officer walks out, puts a stop stick on the road, and says, "Stop," and they do. It's amazing what you can do with photo evidence or video evidence. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boy, Nicole does not like police. Would you recommend becoming a police officer in 2024? Yeah. If you have the call to serve, if you want to help people every single day and have an exciting day, because every day is different. Every day is unique. You never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. It truly is. Like, I know what time I have to show up, but I don't know when I'm going home or what's going to happen. It's truly an unknown, and that's exciting to some degree. But you're also going out to help people, which means if you don't show up, if you're not there, you're not helping people, and that's a negative. You actually, like, I felt guilty when I wasn't on the road, when I was at home, when I was injured and recovering, and now I've never been 100% since. But I'm leaving my brothers and sisters out on the road without me. I want to go and back them up. I want to go and help them. Would one more cop help? Yeah, one more cop is one more call. It's one more person. Like, 100% I would endorse being a police officer. Best career in the world. Absolutely. Can I remove my Ontario front plate if I'm driving in Alberta? You're not compliant with displaying both of them. Will they charge you? I don't know. Why would you do silly things like that? Who unscrews a plate? How pathetic. Are you worried about, is this just because you're curious or because you really want to do this? Because it's silly. Like, really silly. I don't know if they charge you. There might be a fine for not having your issued plates, but I doubt it. But it's super silly. Also, if you're living there versus visiting there, like, who even? Anyway, moving on. $12 for an abstract? I did not know that. Worth knowing. Is it worth knowing? You should be able to find out. Carol Ann Fox. Can an officer off duty in personal car with their children in the back follow and pull over a car? Do they have the authority? Yeah. They're police officers, 24/7, personal car or not. We're police officers. Would I do that with my kids in the car and put my family at risk? Probably not, unless it was something that was absolutely like life-threatening, big deal stuff. I would follow you in my personal car while calling dispatch to have a uniformed car follow you and take over. I've done that. I'll do it again. Impaired drivers all over the place. So, yeah. But I'm going to keep the safety of my family as a priority. Let's see here. Let's say perhaps my car did not have bumpers and doors. Could I drive? Bumpers are a problem. Doors, less of a problem if it was designed not to have doors, like for a Jeep or a Bronco. But I'm going to suggest that if your car didn't have any bumpers or doors, I would pull you over and possibly pull your plates for unsafe motor vehicle. Just the bumpers alone. Okay. Mimi's repeating this question about sign blocked by tree. Covered it already. Yeah. Reminder to do dad jokes. I think that's a good reminder. Let's do dad jokes. Michael's doubling down on dad jokes. And everything else, I think we're up to date. I think we covered it. Even if we're not. I've gone way longer than I thought I was. So dad jokes it is. All right. My finger's on the button. Ready to go. Dad joke from Michael H. I was told to cheer up. It could be worse. I could be in a hole with water. I know they mean well. That's good. That's actually good. I like that. I can be in a hole with water. I know they mean well. That's far better than I thought it was going. All right. Dad joke from Michaela Draconis. I think my dad jokes are childish, which is crazy. They're obviously full grown. So delayed reaction there. Another dad joke from Michaela. What crime do blacksmiths often get charged with? forgery. Little a little early on the button. All right. Yeah. This button should be outlawed. Okay. A quote from Akela. And it's an H.L. Mencken. Mencken? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Never argue with a man whose job depends on not being convinced. What an interesting quote. And this is a repeat. I actually made a video of this last week, or Tuesday. I liked it so much I'll read it again. What happens when Imperial fighters race? There's only one that's not really a race, is there? It always ends in a tie. TIE fighter. I like it. I liked it a lot. Made a video about it. All right. What do we got here? We're good. We're done. I will be back tomorrow because we're going to do this again tomorrow because tomorrow is Friday. Friday all day as we go into a weekend that isn't a long weekend for you, but it is another week of vacation for me. So I won't be here at all next week. I might put out some content based on clipping up live streams because I like doing that. I'm going to try and put out a bunch of podcasts that have been in the can waiting to be posted. So I'm going to try and provide content for you. No guarantees. Do my best. Off duty is off duty, even though I tend to do editing and stuff, even though I'm off duty, because I care and because I'm addicted to it. I like doing it. It's fun. Have a great weekend or a great day today. See you tomorrow. See, I started talking about my vacation. I was already like 1 foot out the door, not going back. But yeah, have a great night. Just drive safe, drive sober. And we will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. where we do this all again. And then I will for real tell you that I'm going on vacation and I won't see you for a week. In the meantime, here's a recruiting video that I've really come to love. See you soon.
Your future career starts with a vision. A vision of opportunities ahead, where you can see a path to a noble career, serving the city of Toronto. Where do you see yourself? Toronto Police Service. Apply today.